Hello my friends.
We are delighted to welcome you to the Alterac Valley.
Today we have put together the most important data on Alterac Valley's impact on the matter.
Based on this data, we will try to find an answer to the question, is the release of Alterac Valley a success or failure?
In addition, we will tell you about the reasons that may make you refuse to buy Alterac Valley packs.
In our opinion, a good expansion has three main components. The first component is the balance of classes and strategies. The second is the variety of interesting mechanics and cards in the matter, and last but not least, the impact of new archetypes.
During the month, two important things happened in the metagame. The first is the release of the last expansion of this year, and the second is a major patch with balance changes. According to our survey, the vast majority of our subscribers are satisfied with the current standard meta.
This is an important indicator. Despite this fact, let's take a closer look at the current metagame.
The main advantage of the standard metagame is the presence of effective control archetypes.
The most popular classes in the game are Mage, Rogue and Warrior. Demon Hunter is an outsider in popularity. The worst classes in terms of efficiency are Priest and Demon Hunter. Warrior dominates in all constructed modes. Quest Warrior is the most popular and effective archetype in standard format. This is the best deck in wild format for climbing ladder. It is also one of the best strategies in duels mode. The Bloodsail deckhand nerf had absolutely no impact on the effectiveness of this archetype. Moreover, if you love Warrior, you won't have any other effective alternative, since Warrior has received nothing new this expansion.
A few words about diversity. Alterac Valley brought 135 new cards to the game, which allowed for the formation of approximately 17 new archetypes, but only 5 of them still have an efficiency above 50%. Beast Druid is a new version of Aggro Druid that has slightly more efficiency and popularity.
Hunter finally managed to form a beast strategy, and it's even pretty competitive.
Buff Paladin is not a new strategy. This archetype appeared after the release of the Deadmines miniset, but the new expansion significantly changed the archetype and made it more effective.
Shaman received the most benefits from the new expansion. The new pool of elementals and spells with freeze synergy has become an important foundation for almost all current archetypes.
My favorite new archetype is Thief Rogue. This is the most popular archetype at legend rank. But at lower ranks, Poison Rogue has slightly higher efficiency.
Unfortunately, this is all that can be said about effective new strategies. Now let's take a look at a list of the best current archetypes for each class. Deathrattle Demon Hunter, Face Hunter, Libram Paladin, Shadow Priest, Hand Warlock and Quest Warrior are still the best class strategies. When I look at this list, I get the feeling that the release of the new expansion and the balance change did not happen at all. However, Ping Mage finally became a competitive archetype on the 4th try.
Now let's take a look at the overall popularity of the cards from the new expansion. The use of the new cards in the metagame has significantly fallen from 21% to 14% after balance changes. This means that, on average, each deck contains only 4 new cards. This is an incredibly low figure. Only 86 cards out of 135 are used in the metagame. 64% of cards in the set are useful for the current meta. Thus, Alterac Valley contains fewer useful cards than United in Stormwind. Moreover, the overall popularity of the cards from the previous expansion is higher. Also on the screen you can see cards distributed by rarity. 23 legendary cards out of 25 can be seen in the metagame, but only 16 legendary cards and 8 epic cards have more than 1% popularity so far. The most popular legendary cards are the new hero cards for Mage, Rogue and Paladin. The overall popularity of legendary cards is 24%. This is a very good result, especially for the last expansion of the year, since almost every 4th legendary card in decks belongs to this set.
Let's look at the benefits of buying these packs. Potentially, your first pack will bring you 2 or even 3 useful cards out of 5. After your 30th opened pack, you'll only find 2 useful cards per 3 packs, since you are guaranteed to have collected all common cards. After the 60th pack, you will stop receiving new rare cards. After that, you will need to purchase 17 packs to find 1 useful epic card. To get a useful legendary card that has more than 1% popularity, you will need to open 33 packs on average.
Based on this data, we can conclude that Alterac Valley packs will bring you too little benefit for the current metagame. If you have a sufficient amount of accumulated dust, then the best solution at the moment for you would be to open only 60 packs. Then you can create some of the required epic cards and useful legendary cards for decks. By the way, the only advantage of this set is the super powerful legendary hero cards. but the likelihood of finding a useful hero card is extremely low.
Therefore, we do not recommend that you continue to buy Alterac Valley packs. We urge you to save resources for the next expansion. This is especially important for players who buy packs during the expansion phase.
By the way, don't miss our video on essential tips for managing your Hearthstone assets. By following these simple life hacks, you can significantly increase your collection and reduce your costs in the game.
Unfortunately, the Alterac Valley set brought too few new things to the game. Of course, we've got a few important cards for most of the older archetypes, and so they seem a little different. But if you want to try new archetypes, you have very few decks to choose from.
A few words about the wild format. Some old strategies have received an upgrade. In addition, several completely new archetypes have appeared. At the same time, Quest Warrior and Quest Hunter continue to dominate. In any case, the emergence of new effective archetypes in wild mode is extremely important. We would like to draw your attention to one of them.
Moonlit Guidance and Wildheart Guff made it possible for a new version of the Cthulhu archetype to emerge. The deck is very similar to Jade Druid but has a more efficient finisher: control the board and cast Cthulhu spells. When there are less than 3 cards left in your deck, you use the 4th piece of Cthulhu, which will automatically add the old god to your deck. Then, you will be able to discover multiple copies of Cthulhu from your deck using Moonlit Guidance.
Finally, we would like to draw your attention to one controversial feature of the new expansion. In our opinion, hero cards are too powerful and versatile.
Most of them can be useful in almost any archetype. For example, for only 7 mana Shadowcrafter Scabs generates effects that are equivalent to 6 cards that cost at least 15 mana.
The only exceptions are Guff, Rokara and Xyrella, as these cards only reveal their potential in rather specific decks.
Despite the fact that players love super powerful cards, especially hero cards, it seems to us that universal cards are not interesting. The use of such cards makes strategies and archetypes similar to each other, which in turn leads to a reduction in variety.
Let's finally get to the bottom line. Is Alterac Valley the worst set ever? To do this, let's weigh all the factors.
On the one hand, the new set brought control archetypes back to the game. We got powerful legendary hero cards, the old archetypes got upgrades. In addition, the new cards bring variety to the wild format, which is extremely important.
On the other hand, the set contains practically no new ideas. We've already seen most of the mechanics in previous expansions. We have received too few new effective archetypes. Some cards are too powerful and versatile, but at the same time the set as a whole has too little impact on the meta. The meta looks monotonous due to the dominance of old effective strategies. In addition, we have fewer archetypes than before, even with a record number of new cards.
We again get the impression that important key cards have been moved from the main expansion to the mini set. If so, then the mechanics from Alterac Valley could get a second life in a month.
In any case, we invite you to collectively determine whether a new expansion is a success or a failure. Take part in the vote on our community tab.
In my opinion, this is a monotonous expansion. We expected more variety from this year's meta. Despite the crushing failure of Rastakhan's Rumble, it seems to us that even this set contained more interesting ideas than Alterac Valley.
But the current state of affairs does not come as a surprise to us. We even managed to predict the current situation and share our assumptions about the problems in the metagame in one of our previous videos. Don't miss it.
The situation in this year's meta makes us think that the game desperately needs new variability adjustment tools.
Dear friends, how would you feel about temporary card banning in Hearthstone? This is how it might work. Every month, developers choose several or just one card from overpowerful archetypes, and prohibits their use for a month.
After a month, these cards are returned to play, while cards from other archetypes become banned. This way will allow developers to hold back the evergreen effective archetypes for a while and thus make room for new things. This approach could force the metagame to evolve more actively.
Would you agree to such an experiment? Which archetype would you prefer to weaken first?
My dream is to ban Lady Ladrin for at least a month, as Liberum Paladin has been one of the best archetypes for over a year.
And one more question. Do you feel it necessary to carry out a huge revision of the cards from this year's expansions after the rotation? Does the standard format need to reduce the overall power level?
Please take part in our polls on the community tab, and share your opinions in the comments.
We will be extremely grateful to you for liking and subscribing to the channel as well as for turning on all notifications using the bell icon. You can also join our squad of loyal patrons and help us create new videos.
Dear friends, from all of my robotic heart, thank you so much for any kind of support.
Alright, that's all for today. Thank you for being with us.
And special thanks to Chris for his invaluable help.
We will definitely meet in a new video. Good luck.
What?